So, what's it like at a chop?
Yeah, no, a lot of the local shows around here, I've actually took on the handicapping role for the North Coast. So what'll happen is competitors will come to a wood shop, and most people who actually chop throughout our association, they have an established mark, which is a handicap mark, and a competitor will show up to a chop, and if he wins money, say, his mark will get higher, and if he doesn't win money, his mark will come down. So the more chops that the axemen go to, the more they win, the further back they go. The least chops that they go to, the less they win, the further they come down. So what will happen is now I have to draw up heats and draw up finals and things like that, and run the chop at the show, and keep events moving throughout the day, and work through the heats and that. And
so you're like one of the organisers now?
Yeah, I've got in big part of the organisation process now of the shows of running the wood shops.
And you said it was a pretty social event.
Yeah, a lot of mateship and that throughout, like wood shopping. There's a lot of people get together, and they've in the same type of industry, same type of interest sort of thing, and that axes and that they and also that wood shopping can take you a lot of places and that sort of thing. A lot of travelling and that. And
where can they take you? What other countries are big on wood shopping?
Well, America's quite big on it. There's also a lot of European countries. I wasn't actually quite aware until I started watching the Steel Timber Sport series on TV, on the All-Star channels and that, how big it is actually over in the European countries. That they get right behind it. Like some of the Steel Timber Sport series that they've held over there, they've had over 10,000 people go and actually watch it in stadiums and things like that.
Wow, there we go.
The most I've probably chopped in front of would have been, 5,000 or 6,000 in the Sydney wood chopping arena in a couple of big finals in the younger days. But
6,000 people.
Shows, yeah, they can hold 5,000 people inside the wood chopping stadium at Sydney Show. So,
wow, that's great.
Yeah, on the Easter long weekend, they generally pack out every seat all day. So, they get a good crowd and a good following to the wood chops. A lot of people have said to me, oh geez, I just love the wood chops. I can come and watch them all day. Just sit there and watch them all day. They're always, always competitive, and it's got the thrill towards it.
I saw you training Tuesday afternoon, and you were quite ferocious going up that log. There was chips flying everywhere. Yeah,
I've just in recent times, I've come at the approach that the training that you put in is what you get out on the performance day. So if you just go down the back there and treat it as if it's a bit of a joke sort of thing, or not come at it seriously, it'll show on the weekend when you actually want to win. So the best approach is put in what you get out.
Yeah, that's right. Train how you want to perform.
Yeah, that's correct.
How many different disciplines are there?
Well, normal events at local shows, you'll cut an unhand and standing at a Pt2 competitions. They'll also have a tree felling event where you actually chop in it can be up to 4 hits to 6 hits in a notch in the tree, and you'll drive a board into it with a metal shoe on the end, and then pull the board down, and the shoe will clip up into the timber, and you jump up on the board. The axeman will climb up to a 13-foot pole, 3 boards high off the ground, cut half the log, come down.
So you're standing on a tree and chopping it as you're coming down.
Yeah, you're actually on a springboard, and you're standing on the board, which is just a board that's 6 inches wide by probably 2 inches deep of timber, with a metal shoe fitted on the end, and the shoe drives into a notch that you've cut in the pole, and will then clip in, and you'll jump onto that plank of wood and ascend the pole 3 boards high.
There we go. That's pretty hard for me to picture.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting event. There's a lot of thrill in it. It's a good crowd pleaser. Everyone loves coming and watching the tree. That's some people hang around all day just to watch the tree. So it's not quite as big as it used to be, just due to the fact that back 50 years ago, a lot of people used to do that in the bush. That's how they fell trees. They fell them off springboards and that. Wow. Nowadays, with chainsaws and heavy machinery, the industry isn't quite what it used to be. It's it's something that you have to sort of go off and individually learn yourself. It's not part of a modern day-to-day job.
So how did the sport woodchop come about? Do you know how old it is?
I'm not actually 100% certain on the date. I'm sure it was roughly around the year 1890 in Tasmania. There was actually two blokes who were actually log fallers in the bush in Tasmania, and they were at the pub having a few beers, and they actually challenged each other to a race. So they had a bet for, I think it was 50 quid at the time, and they went to the pub and grabbed two logs and had a chop for a bet, and it stemmed from there. So it's actually the only sport going around at the moment that Australia's actually invented.
Australia's what, sorry? Invented?
That Australia's actually invented.
So it's an Australian-invented sport?
It's an Australian-invented sport, yeah.
Wow, how good's that?
Yeah. So
and it started in a pub?
And it started in a pub with two blokes having a beer and had a bet.
Well, I think we better start inventing some more sports.
Yeah. No, it's definitely taken off since then. A lot of people were in that industry, but it was never actually a sport. But the sport's grown a lot since then.
And it is quite organised, isn't it? There's a lot of championships. The calendar for woodchop is quite packed. Like, there's a lot of events going on in the year.
Yeah. If you get right down and serious about it, you could chop every weekend if you wanted to. And there's 6 royal shows throughout Australia. You've got Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, and Hobart. And there's actually a couple of smaller ones like Canberra, which is only like a 3-day event, and but it's still classed as a royal show. And
this weekend, is it this weekend that you're going to Latrobe?
It is. I'm actually travelling to Sydney Friday afternoon after work, and Saturday I'll be at Kiama down on the south coast of New South Wales. They have a New South Wales 13-inch standing block title, and I'll be battling Brad DeLoster again in that one.
The person you just beat at Bellingen for the Aussie?
Yeah, he's the one. He cut second in the Australian title up at Brunswick Heads to me, so he'll be...
You'll be up against him again?
Yeah, and the thing was that the wood that we cut at Brunswick Heads is the wood that I generally cut, but the wood that we're cutting down in Kiama is the timber that he cuts all the time, so I'm sure he's not going to show me any mercy down there. So, it should be a good event, and then we'll be travelling back to Sydney on the Sunday and fly out Sunday morning down to Devonport, and we'll be competing in another Australian title at Latrobe.
That's in Tasmania, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different type of event, this one, but they've got 24 axemen throughout the world, even though it's an Australian title. Anyone in the world is allowed to nominate it, and they've actually had 32 entries for this event, but they're only going to take the top 24 into it, and what it's going to be based on is an elimination championship. So they'll seed competitors by how they rank their handicaps once they get to Latrobe.
And then it's knockout from there.
Yeah, they'll have cut 2 to 3 handicaps, and that should level out where people are sitting, so they should work out, who should be ranked number 1 and who should be ranked number 24. And once they've worked out those rankings, one will then cut off 1-on-1 against competitor number 24. 2 will cut against 23, and it'll start working through that sort of basis. And then you'll have
the top 2 at the end.
Yeah, well, you'll actually have the top 3 the way that it bases out.
Oh, okay.
Until it gets to, there'll be 3 in the final, but until they make the final, competitors will cut off against each other 1-on-1. And that's when you really see the best come out in each competitor, because nobody likes to be seen getting beat 1-on-1.
Ooh, there we go. Maybe that'll spur on some of the underdogs.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to watch, because there's been a lot of prize money put into this event from the Jackson Motor Company. They're a big car dealership down in the Tasmania area. They've got a lot of big dealerships, and I believe that their family was tied up through the sport, and because it's such a high-ranking sport down in Tasmania, they've actually come up with $22,500 in prize money.
Wow, is that for first place?
First place holds the prize pool of $8,000, and then they work back down through, and each competitor will receive a certain amount of prize money. Obviously, the scale drops down a lot. After first, it'll go to 5,000, and then I'm led to believe third is 3,000, and then, each round you're knocked off, you get less and less. But,
now, that's not including the prize for breaking the 50-year-old record, is it?
No, that's correct. Anyone at any stage of that competition, if they break the record of 13.7 seconds, will receive a payout of $50,000. So what will happen is
$50,000?
Yes, if the record by some chance is broken, it will go to whichever competitor breaks it by the least. But at any stage of that competition, you don't have to actually win the competition. If you break the record, you will receive $50,000.
Wow. So this is a 300mm log that was chopped through in how many seconds? 13 point what?
13.7 seconds. So a lot of axemen have put a lot of time and effort into calculating how many hits it'll need to take, and the way that the axemen hit, with starting and finishing, you would need to put at least 12 hits into the log to have severed it. So you'll if you can get it off in less than 12 hits, maybe even 11, 12 hits, and you can cut that log off, you'll be somewhere around the mark. But a 300mm log, a lot of axemen on a general basis will probably put 10 hits in the front of the log and probably roughly 8 hits in the back, and that's if it's fairly good species of timber.
Who set this record? How did someone cut 30%? How did someone cut so much faster than everyone else?
Well, we're not sure. We're led to believe that the record is true, but it could have been an extremely soft piece of timber, and the time was set back then. But
how long can you cut through a 300mm?
I'd say roughly the quickest time I would have probably cut through one would have been probably 16 to 17 seconds. In a really, really soft species of timber when I was in New Zealand competing. They have quite a soft species of timber over there.
So, when you're when you go from chop to chop, they've got different types of timbers.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're not always cutting. So there's no standard, like uniform standard.
No, that's why the sport becomes so expensive once you get serious in it, because the more places you travel, the different variations in the wood you'll see.
That's why I need the different axes.
Yeah, that's correct. Like up in Queensland and the northern New South Wales section, they have a lot quite firmer type of species of timber, so the wood will be a lot harder. So your axes will need to be a lot thicker and able to stand the logs, otherwise they will break pieces out. Whereas down in the other areas where the rainfall is a lot higher and the trees grow a lot quicker, such as like Tasmania, New Zealand, the lower parts of Victoria, because the trees get so much rainfall and grow so quick, they're actually a softer version of the same timbers, and they become a lot freer, and the axe will travel and cut a lot quicker through the log.
So when you're in Latrobe next weekend, hopefully you get a soft log.
Yeah, hopefully a very soft log. So
could you be chopping against a competitor and one has a softer log than the other?
That is correct. It can happen that way. You'll notice probably from even the top of the tree to the bottom of the tree, because all the logs in the event actually have to come out of the one tree. But the base of the log can generally, if the sap's been trimmed off, it'll be a lot softer than what the head of the log would be, because the sap becomes sticky and holds chips into place, whereas the bottom of the log will be a lot freer, and the chips will fly out, and the heartwood's a lot softer than the sappier wood.
Ah, there we go. So, is there any way you can kind of set yourself up to get the base of the tree?
Well, there's no actual way, because it's all luck of the draw. It's the general events will have 8 logs in the event, and what will happen is the handicapper or the log steward will go out the back, and he will write 1 to 8 on the logs, and then the card will be brought out with the competitors on it, which will have like a random number generated beside their spot from 1 to 8, and they will walk up and then go, okay, competitor 1 will be on block 5, so competitor 2 will be on block 3. That way there's no way that anyone can come up and
that's the soft one.
Yeah, we'll pick the soft log out. So yeah, that's the way to keep the sport fair.
Do you ever get ready and get a sign your log and know you've got the soft one?
Oh, sometimes you can, but you're better off just focusing on your own log.
Yeah.
Once you start worrying about what other people are doing, you're not concentrating on the job. And a lot of people wouldn't realise this. Some people think that you just start hitting the axe into the wood, but it actually takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration to plan out what is actually happening while you're chopping through the log. You could put 20 hits in the front of the log and not get as far as 10 if you think about what you're doing and where the placement of the blows needs to go. And there's a lot goes into it that people aren't quite unaware of what needs to happen for you to sever that log off.
What do you need to do? Coming from a wood chopper, a professional wood chopper, what can you tell someone who's never wood chopped in their life when they stand up? What should their technique be?
Well, a lot of things go into the way that the stance and the way that the axe is presented into the wood. If you get yourself into a position where, say if somebody was going to run and tackle you, the strongest spot you would be to hold yourself into that position, that's basically the way you want to stand. You want to have your knees bent. You want to be pushing yourself into the ground, holding yourself firm so that when you hit that log, it will have least effect on your balance and the way that you're throwing the axe into the wood.
So you need strong centre of gravity?
Yeah, you need very strong core muscles. A lot of power will travel up through your legs. Your arms will be swinging it, but it's the way that you put your body in behind the axe and aim yourself into the wood.
So put your body into the swing?
Yeah, that's correct. And also holding your hands firm on the axe and making sure that if you're going to hit at that angle, that axe will travel in on that angle and not scoop off or run off, because that's when accidents can happen and it can scoop off and hit toes or other body parts. So you need to be quite serious in what you're doing, not be mucking around with the axe.
And what angle? When I was watching you, I saw you do a few hits from a downward angle, then quickly switch to an upward angle, and then a big block would just explode off.
Yeah. So as the axeman progresses, they can gradually increase slope to their angle. Once they get comfortable and they become better at coordination, as in hitting in the same spot and in the same direction, because you need to be able to work out the softer woods you can use more slope because the axe will draw in and they're a lot thinner. But when you're using a thicker axe, the bevel actually, because it's cut at an angle, if you use too much slope over the top, it will scoop off the log and run down the cradle and can go into places that you don't want it to go.
And it's definitely not just hitting it in the same spot at the same every time, is it? No,
you need to follow your patterns, but you need to make sure that you're hitting in the right spot. Otherwise, you're wasting hits. If you've hit where you've already hit, you're already cutting that wood again. So the more hits you save, the quicker you'll get it through, and the more energy you'll save yourself.
Mm-hmm. Hey, when you've only got 13.7 seconds to break a $50,000 record, you don't want to be wasting any hits, do you?
Yeah, no, I haven't got a hit I can waste. Everything has to fall into line and be in perfect and used with a lot of precision.
And what training do you do?
So just recently, since I've given it a bit of a serious crack at the sport, I've actually started doing a bit of cardio, as in swimming in the mornings. I'll swim from anywhere from a K to a K and a half in the morning, and then I've actually got quite a physical job, being a powerline worker, outdoors, physical, hands-on sort of work. So that sort of helps you keep fit as well. And in the afternoons, you'll actually chop off maybe 2 or 3 logs leading up to the event, and you'll probably do that every second day, because if you did it every day, you'd start wearing yourself down, and you'd take the sting out of your training, and once you become slow and it becomes more of a chore than more of an explosive training, you're going to start getting yourself into bad habits. So you want to be quite fresh while you're doing it, so that you're in the situation that you'd be in on the weekend when you're going to attack a log.
Well rested.
Yeah. Well, not so much well rested, but as in you want to have every bit of energy at your disposal to do it. Otherwise you'll be just burning excess energy.
And of course, taking the toll on the body. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of force going into hitting the wood. Do you ever get injuries? Like
I've
not
actually
cut, but shoulder injuries.
I sustained a few months ago a lower back, like a muscular sort of injury, and that. But I've been doing a lot of like core strengthening, and I've had a few physio sessions, and my back's starting to come actually quite good, and it's actually helping my fitness and that as well. So hopefully with the swimming and that and the extra chopping, it's actually going to hopefully fix up my injury and sustain my body for a lot longer.
We're going to wrap up here with Chris. Thanks for calling up tonight.
Yeah, that's no problems, Marco. We've got to give every bit of publicity into the sport that we can. It's starting to die off a bit with people not being much involved in the industry as it is nowadays. But I'm led to believe that the sport can continue and get as much publicity into the sport as we can. So I've just been recently putting myself out there, trying to get a few sponsors and that to help me go to a few upcoming events, as in the world titles at Sydney now that I'm an Australian title holder, and making my way up through the Steel Timber Sports Series hopefully this year as well. So if anyone was out there listening tonight and might know anyone who would be willing to sponsor me, if you wouldn't mind letting them know, that'd be greatly appreciated.
If there is anyone listening out there who might want to, or knows someone who might want to sponsor Chris, please phone 6646 1100 and leave a message for Marco.
Yeah, thanks very much, Marco.
One more question, Chris. If you're looking to get into the sport, where's the best place to start?
So if you want to go to get into the sport, you're best probably going to your local show around your area and just coming up to the woodshop sections and asking for myself, and I'll point you in the right direction and give you as much help as I can.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks for calling up again.
No worries, Marco. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the night.
You too, mate. See ya.